I'm going to hit record here. All right, this is going. So sorry for that. We kind of got messed up there with the technology. We're figuring some things out here on the Coach's Corner. But we got Coach Roche from Wells High School up here today to talk a little bit on culture and team building, which he certainly has been pretty successful down in the Wells community at doing. Coach, you had mentioned before that you've been there for 22 years now as the head coach.
Yeah, 22 years head, 27 total. You know, was
you were an assistant under Eddie McDonough before that, right?
Yeah, he's a pretty good coach.
And 4 state championships, as we said before, right?
Yep,
as the head coach.
4 as the head coach, 1 is the assistant under Ed.
The assistant, and we mentioned before we were going to keep it at 4 until Levitt and Wells get separated by classification, right?
Yeah, right.
That way, I love the battles that we've had, Coach. I missed the time in between when we were in separate deals, but it was always good to play against you guys. Always definitely a challenge going against the wing tee, and just always well-coached teams, and certainly appreciate the way you put things together. So if you want to start your talk and go ahead and story tell a little bit and put some questions in the chat, that'll be awesome.
All right, I'll go back over those stories. Sorry, guys, if you heard them before, but I'll do them anyway. Maybe I can elaborate on them a little bit. But I was telling the story earlier that when we first went to Levitt, one of my first times as head coach, we were driving up, and if you've been to Levitt, it's a little ways away. It's not like going to Mountain Valley or a place. I always, be honest with you, being a Southern Maine guy, I always say if I go past Lewiston, I'm in Canada. I feel like I should bring my passport. But the idea was that we were driving up and got to right in front of the school, and when you're on a bus, you get kids on each side. All of a sudden, everybody was on one side of the bus, and I didn't know what was going on. I thought maybe somebody used to going to Mountain Valley or something like that, where they throw stuff at the bus on the way in. I saw I look over to my right, and on their little entryway to the school were the cheerleaders, and they had decided to moon the bus. And so my kids were very excited, and that was my first taste of Levitt as a visiting head coach, at least. We had some good battles before that too, as Mike had said. And then later on, I told the story about how homecoming. I don't know if you ever been to Levitt at homecoming, guys, but the food there is outstanding. They have a lot of booths and things like that you can buy food at, and it's really good. And they had this little game that you could play where you could pay $5 to have someone arrested. Well, Coach Rafferty, as we all know, Coach Rafferty, he's in one end zone, I'm in the other, and we're going to play each other in a couple of weeks. And I kind of didn't want him to beat Levitt at the time. I think we were battling out for a playoff spot. And so I paid $10 to the cop that was there, the sheriff's department, and said, could you go arrest that guy scouting in the other end zone? They went down and arrested him, put him in the jail. Coach Rapp was pretty pissed at me, and then had to pay $20 to get out. So Levitt made $30 off us that night. So I'm sure Mike was happy with that. I don't know if he was the head coach then, but he was.
We're always looking to make money off them Southern guys coming up for homecoming. We usually hit Dave Turner and Davy Jones up pretty good on that.
They got more money.
I hear you on the Mountain Valley thing, man. As a player, when we beat them when I was a sophomore, they almost tipped our bus over coming out of there. And then when my first year coaching in 2002, we went up there. They were undefeated, and we beat them week 9 to kind of sneak into the playoffs in a little bit of an upset, and got the same treatment. Coach Bach, who I'm sure we'll see this later, my line coach, he got hit with a rock that came through the window in the eye. Cut him a little bit up above, so you never know what you're going to get when you go up to Rumford. But those Levitt homecomings are good. I love the Saturday night atmosphere. Only game in town. I know we had you guys this year. I've always been on the side of let's schedule somebody good for homecoming. So when we get our best crowd, it's going to be one of the best teams coming in. So that was an awesome atmosphere this year, and maybe the schedule makers can get us up at Wells for your homecoming next year. It's pretty good atmosphere up in your place too.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a good time, and you're right about Mountain Valley. I'll tell a quick one about that. Halftime we were in a game, and the crow's nest that they used to have on the visitor sideline. You used to have to, I think they probably still have it. You have to climb the ladder, a giant ladder, to get up to the top there, and you sat in a crow's nest to watch a game. Well, Coach Perry, who's my longtime assistant, was my coach in high school too. 40-something years coaching football in Maine for Wells even. He was up there, and those of you who know Coach Perry, he could be a little crabby at times. I mean, but I was assistant coach, and we had gone over to the shed where you can go at halftime, and I could hear yelling in the headphones. I had the headphones. I'm like, oh, what the hell's all the yelling for? It's halftime. Why is somebody yelling at me in the headphone right now? Well, the kids had stolen the ladder down from the crow's nest. So Coach Curry was stuck in the crow's nest because they had walked the ladder away, and we had to run back down and get it. So Mountain Valley's got quite an atmosphere back in those days, a little different now, but it was always fun to play there as it is in Lebanon. So I'll get going here. Like I told my stories before, and we talked about team and stuff like that. And I said, to start the conversation, I said, we all like to put family on our T-shirts and do things like that. I said that I think that the biggest thing is you really have to buy into that, and the head coach has to be the one that kind of like starts that whole thing. And, do the rules with the MPA and stuff like that, about contact and all that stuff. We're not like other states. We can't do as much with our kids in the off season. But the one thing every one of us can do every day is check in with as many kids as possible. And if you're in the school, I know it's harder when you're not in the school, but I walk the hallways all day. I try to stand out there in the hallways. It's not just football kids, but I try to check in with all my football players during the week, see how you're doing, just have that conversation with them all the time. And I think that's what brings kids into the program too. If we're all looking to have kids, kids see that and they kind of gravitate because they don't have families. As we all know, it's a different time. They don't have the families they need. So if they see somebody that's caring and doing something, they'll come out and they'll come out for football. And I'm really a big believer in that piece too. The off season of just having conversations, not even football conversations. I could care less about talking to a kid about how he stoned the ball in December or whatever. I just want to know how you're doing as a kid and as a person. So I think that's important for us and important for the kids and important for your community. The other thing I would say that my wife convinced me of was that we would do things like, I know we all have our problem parents and guys that like to coach from the stands and do things from the stands and criticize every step we make. Everybody has them. My wife came up with the idea is you put them to work and you make them busy. I have, either doing stats or doing stuff like that or doing the chains or things like that. They do those things. And I think that's another way. And it's not just problem parents. I'm joking with that. It's any parent that wants to help out. We have them try to find places for them, not on the sideline, not coaching and stuff like that, but up in the tower, doing things that they could help out around this. And it makes them feel a part of the program. So getting into like what we can do and what we do at Wells is basically in June, we have the lifting just like everyone else all the time. But basically in June, we don't take off from the lifting, but what we do is on that first day that we're allowed to do anything, whatever that date is after this first sports season, is we go ahead with what we like to do is mat drills that you see in colleges. So we go 2 weeks of mat drills. School might still be in session. It might not, depending on when the sports season policy ends there for the spring. Generally, it isn't. We usually have 1 week left of school when that state championship game is going to be played, or whatever that date is that the MPA sets. And we come in at 6 a.m. And even if they have school, the kids are there. It's not mandatory in any way. We're not allowed to make it mandatory. But we do say encourage. And I average, if I have whatever number of kids I have on the team, I would say we have about a 95% attendance rate on those morning sessions, 6 a.m. And if you've seen mat drills before, it's quite about a half hour to 45 minutes. I have a good strength and conditioning coach, and the kids get after it on the wrestling mats. They don't wrestle each other. It's just drill work, agilities based stuff, all that stuff. And it starts to build the team because the kids have to be there. We talk a lot about discipline. We make them go in the locker room, get a count of how many kids are there. When they come out of the locker room, they might not be right, so they got to go back in the locker room. They have to sit a certain way on the mat. They have to do things in a certain way. It's very military, very Navy SEAL-like in that way. I'm also very lucky, guys. I have the commander, sorry, not the lieutenant commander. He'd be mad at me. The commander of SEAL Team 6 is one of my assistant coaches, so to speak, is there quite a bit. So he helps us with how to set these things up and how to do it. But we do these mat drills for 2 weeks. We still go to the weight room. We do things with them. The kids that dread it, they don't want to be there. They really don't until about halfway through. And then they're on each other about if you missed, we don't let them in if they're late. Actually, what we do now is we change that. If you're late, you can do the workout, but you have to do it off to the side. You're not part of the team. And it kind of separates them. They still get their workout in because they did show, but because they were late, they're not part of the group that's doing it. So we have them still do the workout, but it's off to the side. And yeah, I know kind of some people raise eyebrows, say, oh, you're singling these kids out. Well, sometimes we have to do that to keep the discipline going. so the mat drills go on, and it brings the kids together. At the end of those mat drills, the end of the 2 weeks of mat drills, when we really go into what I call our summer lifting program, we have a little celebration with that. We have some fun with it. We do some things, maybe have a lunch or something like that, where everybody's together doing something. It might be a breakfast, a lunch, whatever it is. And we kind of bring all the kids together and have some fun with them, and maybe do some fun drills rather than the typical work drills, maybe some team comp or something like that you guys all know how to do, and have some fun with them. And then we go into what, all of us have as our summer weight room, and maybe 7-on-7 and things like that. What we have found, at least at Wells, and I'm sure some of your Southern Maine guys are the same, but some of the Northern Maine aren't, is that our kids work a lot. So we're open at 5:30 a.m. We have, again, about a 90% attendance rate in the weight room all summer long. I always say to our kids and our parents, look, this isn't mandatory. It's very important you hear. Basically, if you're hanging out doing nothing, you should be there. If your family's going on vacation, you should go on vacation. You should go camping. You should go do the things that life brings. But if you're just hanging out at home, you should be in the weight room doing our things. Kids show up, 90-95%. Like I said, they're in the weight room doing their things. Every Friday, we go back to like what we like to do things because of our Navy SEAL and stuff like this. We like to do things based on military. We do what we call an honor workout. So we honor a fallen member of our military, whether it's local, national, or something that maybe just happened recently in the news. We put his picture up, we talk about him, and then we do a workout, much like you, what do they call those like CrossFit workout type things? They're brutal. They're really tough workouts. We do it for about 45 minutes on Fridays. The kids enjoy it. They love it. It's all a build up to 2 final workouts before our sports season policy kicks into effect, that 2-week hands-off period, where we do what we do is what's called the Murph, which we've all heard of by the Murphy guy that was in Lone Survivor, that was killed in Lone Survivor. He had a workout that we do. That one is our final workout. We do one the week before for a kid that graduated from Wells, Sean Sheehy, who was a Navy SEAL, who was also killed. We do a workout for him too. That's a very tough workout on our track. But the Murph is our kind of like our final thing we do before the 2-week hands-off period. And we include the parents on that. They bring a breakfast for the kids. They come to cheer on the kids. They're there for that. All the parents. I'm not exaggerating when they say there's 100 people there watching the Murph. And if you know the Murph, it's so many chin-ups, it's so many push-ups. It's a mile run first, and then come back, do all those chin-ups, sit-ups, and squats, then do another mile run. And our school is very crowded that day. It's great to see. The parents are cheering on the kids. Not every kid can do it. We have a time limit of 40 minutes. They cannot finish it. There's many kids that cannot finish it, which is completely fine with us. We're not looking for you. We're looking for you to make the effort. It brings us together, though. It brings the community together, and it brings the kids together. This idea behind kids, in my opinion, the idea behind kids not wanting to work and we can't get the kids to do this, I call BS on. I think if you really put it to them and you show them that they can be successful and you let them try their best, they want to do that. They want to be there. I mean, I'm serious when I say we got about 90-95% attendance all summer long. And we do the 7-on-7 on Fridays. Guys, you've seen us play. We're going to throw the ball. If we throw the ball 7 times, we're considered run and shoot that week. That's our run and shoot offense. We're not going to throw the ball much, but we go to 7-on-7 because of what it brings for our kids. What it does, our kids enjoy it. They have fun. We tell them we're going to pass like crazy during the season. It'll never happen, but we tell them that. They fall for it every time. And they get to the 7-on-7 and they enjoy it. We go to Exeter for their tournament. We do pretty well down there, believe it or not. All we run is waggle. We refuse to run anything else. And 2 years ago, we came in, I think, in the top 4 at Exeter. Just running one play. It was fun to watch. Some of the coaches that were there were really enjoying it because it was comical at best. But we did enjoy that and had a blast doing that. And that also brings, and that Exeter tournament also brings the parents out and has them be a part of it. They make the lunches, they do a bunch of stuff, and we have quite a crowd down there for Exeter. They enjoy it, and it's part of bringing everyone together as what we like to call the football family at Wells, which we all try to do. But it keeps them in the moment. It keeps them there doing things. Then we kind of got that 2 weeks hands-off period. We still lift. I'm going to be honest. I know it's on recording. I see it as that's what they say we can do. So, I could get into a long conversation about how I just totally disagree with the 2 week hands off period at the right when you're supposed to be getting ready for your season. I'd rather see it in June, but whatever. We do it and we get it going, and then that first week of the season, unlike what a lot of us do, we don't do double sessions. We do single sessions at night because our kids are working, and it's a little tougher for us. So we do a single session at night, and we just get our normal practice like you guys do. It's a normal practice, but we're lucky because the next week we're going to leave for camp. And those of you who go to camp, it's a big time stress on us, coaches, staff, and all that stuff, because you don't want anything to go wrong. You don't want something to happen up there, as we all read the stories about camp and all that stuff. But we still think it's our number one thing we do to build teams, because when we're up there, we're with them 24/7. They don't have a choice. We don't let them bring cell phones, no electronics, nothing. All they are is for that week with us, and it's football and it's life. And that's what it is. Our Navy SEAL comes with us. We lucked out this year that the guy that worked at the camp was Paul Fraze, who used to play for the Jets and a bunch of teams. He was a guy who played for UMass, I think, somewhere like that, and was an ex-NFL player. He just happened to be there, and he ended up spending the week with us too. But we as much as we practice and we get our workouts in and stuff like that, probably the best part of camp, and the reason I like camp, is we put the kids in cabins based on like 2 seniors, 2 juniors, 2 sophomores, 2 freshmen. We don't let the seniors all be in one cabin. We don't let them, when they eat at the table with their cabin. They try to get to know one another to build that team. I tell the coaches, there are times where we're going to talk football with them, sitting around outside. That's fine if that's what they ask. If they don't ask you about football, but they come sit with you, talk about life, talk about whatever they want to talk about. Don't bring up football. It doesn't have to be football 24/7 with these kids. Talk about what sometimes they love to see us just fool around. This year, I've lost a lot of weight in the last 2 years. Well, we played tennis against each other. Mark Luya, who's my strength and conditioning coach, and I played tennis. I said I was a great tennis player. I'm really not in any way whatsoever. And Mark's pretty good because he's the PE teacher. He knows how to do everything. And I lost badly. But the fact that the kids saw us in that atmosphere where we were competing against each other, laughing, going after, they loved every minute of it. They loved it. And that also is part of team building, is them seeing you as a human being, I guess, is the best thing to say, is they have to see that. They don't want to always see you as Coach Roche or Coach Roscoe or whatever. They want to see the other side of you. And I really believe in that. And that, I know for some older coaches, that's like kind of like, I don't know. And they know where the line is. My kids understand the line. We're not talking about, the things they're going to go talk to their friends on in cabins or in the locker room. But we are talking about life in general. And they really enjoy that. They really enjoy that piece of camp. They enjoy that whole thing. And that's why camp is so great for us and really brings us together as a team. The other thing we leave that camp, we get home, we're generally going to a scrimmage on the way home. The kids, 2 years ago, I can remember getting in a big argument with the kids. We were going to a jamboree in Timberland, New Hampshire, I think, or something like, on the way home from camp. And the kids were very angry at me. They said, "We're beat, we're tired. Now we're going to face Windham, New Hampshire, and someone else, 2 big schools in New Hampshire. We're going to get killed. Oh, this is awful." The whole talk behind it. And the whole purpose was, in talking with Mark, is we wanted to see how we reacted when we were tired and the chips are down and we're facing some adversity and playing a good school, because we didn't know where we were at that time. And the kids were crabby and tired from camp, and they just didn't want to be there so much. They played them tough. We played Windham, who won the state championship, I think, that year in the Class A of New Hampshire. We played them real tough. It was 7-0. We played a half a game with them. And the kids kind of, like, later on in the season, we won the state championship that year. They marked that as the day that they figured out what we were trying to do. They marked that day as, hey, I get it now. I get why you want us to play that game. We faced the adversity. We saw what it was, and we did it. For a couple of years, guys, we weren't scrimmaging. We just didn't believe that we needed to scrimmage at all. I know that goes against a lot of you guys too, but for I think 3 years, we never had a scrimmage. Our first game was our first game. And we just felt like, why get hurt? Why we were low on numbers. We wouldn't go get hurt playing a scrimmage. We could do what we wanted to do in practice and be ready for the game first week. And that's the way we did it. And so this time we did do this scrimmage, and that's really set them off into a whole nother world, but it was good for us. The other thing, as the season goes on, we now get into our season, we kind of have a couple of theme things that brings the community together. Okay, homecoming's homecoming, as Mike said. We have a great atmosphere at homecoming. We still have the parade. We have things going on at halftime. It's a nut job night for us. The focus isn't there. I get what Mike's saying about and he was lucky this year because he played us. We were on that streak, that supposed streak that everybody wanted to talk about but us, and we played that game, and he does have a great atmosphere. I'm joking with him, but he beat us this year and stuff like that. Sometimes I don't like playing the best teams in the world on that night because I think our focus is on like the pep rally that day and all this stuff, and our focus isn't always on the game, and that drives me nuts for that week as much as I like it. The other thing we do is our military night, our salute to armed forces, as we call it, which also brings the community together. We honor up to 60, 70 vets. We introduce them before the game. It's a night, the flags are all over town. We flag the whole town. There's American flags everywhere in town. This year we combined it with homecoming. So there was an actual parade. We have the military come in. We have military vehicles. We have everything to salute our armed forces. It's a giant night for us. Some of you might have seen it or been around it. It's a huge night for us. But what it does is bring the community in, and they love Wells football for that. And so obviously sometimes, when you look for them for support or whatever, they're more to jump on it because they see what you do and the community's behind it all the time. So we really believe in that and that night, and we really believe in saluting our armed forces. That's a big deal for us, but it's also to bring the community together. The other thing we like to do a lot is, and we're lucky on our school now, we have a big white wall, and we're not sure it was an architect thing. We're never sure why they did it, but we project a video, and it's an Eric Church song called My Hometown. And it's a hometown video where we've gone around the whole week and taken pictures of different places around town, and then put in football things in with it. So they might see, the McDonald's or whatever, but they see a football thing after, and they might see the local donut shop, and then the football scene in it. We project that out. We put it out on Facebook the day before the game, so people are excited to come to the game. They're like, "Oh yeah, the game's tomorrow night. We got to get there. We got to get there." And they love that video. We're actually doing it the last 2 weeks. We've done it as part of the school thing to try to keep kids, in line with, distance learning or whatever we're calling it now. So we're trying to keep them in line with that. So we've actually done a video the last 2 weeks. It's quite a production. Mike, I would think, looking at you and doing your thing, you guys would be good at this, but it's a nice thing for our community to see. The video and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. And you could pick your own song. We also have one that's a private one basically for the football players that the football players put together with Boys of Fall in it. So we have 2 actual videos, but it's a nice thing for our community, and we put it out on YouTube and Facebook and stuff during the week. So that's another cool thing we do. I think, anytime I can get to spend with kids outside of the football piece is how you build team. I really believe that. I think a lot is built on the field. I'm not trying to say that, but a lot of times we'll focus on offense, defense, what we're going to do, game planning for this opponent, game planning for that opponent. If I can spend more time outside, we watch film just like you guys, probably a little less than some, but we'll watch film like you guys. We do things like that. But at the same time, if a good movie's coming out, we might say, hey, let's all go to the movies. If it's a movie we can all go see, I'll call the local movie theater and say, hey, can you give us a deal? I'm going to bring 45 football players over to see the movie Thursday night. Whatever that is, we do it all the time. Kid might say, hey, can we go bowling? Can we play mini golf? We try to find a way to do that if that's one of their ideas. And it's usually the seniors that step up to ask those things, and we try to do it. It gives us time without the distraction of football, but also gives them some time with us to see how we are as human beings too. And that's our big belief. The other thing that, your parents, and I'm sure you guys, a lot of you guys do this, we have that, Thursday night dinner. We don't go because the coaches, because it's at someone's house, and it's kind of weird that way in my mind. So, but the parents organize it, and they do a great job of it, and they have a pasta dinner every Thursday night, and the kids love it. But it's become a little bit, they eat real quick and then get out of there. It used to be more back when I first started at Wells, it was like an event, like an hour and a half of kids sitting around eating stuff. Now they eat and leave. So to me, it's kind of lost a little bit of its meaning, but it still brings them together and it brings the parents together as part of the community. you know, I keep preaching, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but I really believe that in building a culture and a team, it takes time. You know, I talked to a head coach in basketball this year because I coach freshmen, and he was down, and it was his second year, and he said they're just not buying in. I'm like, it's your second year. You're not going to get the buy-in in 2 years. It's going to take time. And I think people look at Wells and say, well, you've always been successful. We weren't. We were ready to drop football in the 80s. In the 90s when Marty Ryan came in, we got better. And then when Ed came, we got much better. And I was lucky to follow a guy that had success. I mean, we won a state championship, and then he leaves, and I get the head job as a young guy. We do all right that year, 5-4. The next year we go 9-0, and I'm thinking life's easy. We lose in the first round of playoffs. Great job. I'm really a good coach. And then the next year go 0-9, so we've had our down, 0-9 years. I've had 2 0-9 years. I've had some down years. Lately, it hasn't been that way. We've been lucky and winning and stuff like that. But I believe it's about culture now. A lot, not too much time sometimes is spent on the offense and defense, the X's and O's of the game. And I think a coach is making a mistake if he doesn't spend the time on developing a culture within his building, his town, and in the kids. And if you can't do that, I don't know that you're going to be successful. I struggle sometimes with, and I'm not going to get into because I know we're going to meet Friday night on realignment and all this stuff of teams where we're penalizing teams that are good and rewarding teams that maybe aren't putting in the effort. And I'm not saying that's everyone, but we know there are that don't go out and do the things that we're trying to do. We're not getting paid a lot of money, but it's a full-time job for all of us. And if we go out and do this work and put the work in, and, people are looking to find a way to make it so you're not successful. And I just don't understand that piece. And I think it's because we've built a culture. And a lot of the guys that I'm looking on here that are on with today have started to build that culture or are part of that culture. And we want, my goal has always been that high school football stays, very successful in Maine. We've had some great things. And I think if everybody works their butts off to create a culture in their building, it would be so much better for all of high school football and everyone. And I'm not saying you have to agree with what I did, where I spend time with the kids on this list. That's not it. I'm just giving you my ideas on how I built the culture and how I built the team, which I'm not a great XO guy. I don't think I am. I know the wing T, but I could tell you right now, Alex knows a lot better than me. I've been watching his film all week, this time. He's got it down pat. I just run the basic stuff and try to run it well. So I just think that building the culture is the way we're going to try to be successful. And I don't know if you got any questions or you want me to go longer, Mike. I could probably talk longer, but I'm willing to take questions. Just have a conversation. I'd love it. Maybe nobody's there. I thought you guys all left. I was like, oh, that was a good conversation.
Whoops.
Mike, I think all right, there you go.
There we go. I had to step out there for a minute. My dogs are going crazy.
I see a question. You mind if I answer it right?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Do I do much with our youth program? So, yeah, you know what? We battled, I'm sure a lot of people have. We battled for years over that. And I always said, I didn't care if they ran, when I first started, I didn't care if they ran our offense. I wanted to teach blocking and tackling the way we teach it. And I didn't really care about the offense that much. I changed my tune later on, and that's where the battle started between the two groups. They wanted to win gold balls. And I was like, I really don't care about winning gold balls in that level. I do at the higher level. So we did have some battles, but what I lucked out was 3 years ago, I was able to take one of my assistant coaches because he had a kid come up and he'd leave my practice early to go do their practice and became the head coach. And what it did, though, was allow him to train the next group that's going to take over. And they want to do the wing tee. They want to do what we're doing. So it allowed that. And that was my way out on that. So we do a lot with the youth program now. We like it. They're doing our stuff. They actually won the gold ball last year running the wing tee, running 3 plays. But so it was nice. So I am doing that with our youth program, and that's nice.
Yeah,
You know,
I would say from just from our point of view, similar deal. Obviously, with my kids coming up through the program the last few years, I've been down there a lot, but a lot of the guys who um, are close friends of mine who kind of already worked in the program anyway. Those guys have had kids coming up at the same time. So there's been a lot of us that have had our hands down there and certainly have some continuity with what they're running. But no, I think a big thing for us is just terminology, like coaching, not even what we call things, but like the terminology of the coaching points, like how you
right.
teach tackling, how you teach blocking, those different concepts. If guys are using the same vocab when they're teaching those things, to me, that seems to make a huge difference for us.
Yeah. And I think that was the key because their numbering system was different than our numbering system in the time. And we have our own, I know Alex is on here, so I would say, I know that like a lot of wing tees are 800, 900, 700, all those, we do it a little different. We had simplified it years ago. We don't call it the way the wing tee guys would call it, like the Delaware guys would call it. We call it differently.
And they kick you out of the club for that, Coach.
I know, I lost my card. But what we said was it was easier for our kids to remember this way, but they wouldn't change at the other level. They went, odd and even each side and all that stuff. And that was always a big deal for us. And when we finally got them to change, it was a lot easier when they got up to us. So that's definite.
Yeah, I think the other thing there too is, you can take some dads and coach them guys up. Like the guy who's been calling the plays at the middle school for me the last couple of years, he wasn't even a football guy, but he played baseball for Billy Fairchild at Oak Hill. And then he played, he was a college baseball pitcher for Ed Flaherty at USM. So, he's not necessarily a football guy, but he's a sports guy. He knows how to coach a little bit, knows how to relate to kids. And then I just taught him stuff. And he would bring it down there. And even my brother-in-law, when my kids are going through, my brother-in-law has never played an organized sport since he was 11 or 12 years old. But he said, if you give me a notebook of 20 plays, I can teach kids 20 plays. And, he delivers beer for Budweiser during the day, and then at night he's coming over and he's got kids. They can run them 20 plays, no huddle by the time they get to me. So I think there's, if you coach those guys up the right way, and if you pick some guys who are willing to listen and have the best interest of the program at heart, then you can do some good things. So we're going to get to some of these other questions.
I see there's a lineman one. Do my linemen do anything in the summer besides lifting?
Yeah.
And I like Coach Plant says, we do that too. If they want to come to 7-on-7, we might run a second group with just some linemen if they want, something fun for them, and do stuff like that, where they can have a little more fun, where it's not just like how to get in a stance and all that stuff. So we try to let our linemen have a little bit of fun with it. Our center, of course, goes to 7-on-7 and snaps and stuff, but we let them do different things. And to be honest with you, a lot of our linemen are linebackers and things like that. So they're going to be in 7-on-7 anyway. And as I say, is if it looks like he's a good fullback, he's probably going to be a guard in a few weeks anyway, when, out there. So, we do let them do stuff like that. And they're big on that Friday workout. I talked about that hero workout. The linemen really love that one because they get to step up, and it could be a strength piece. They don't like the running part, but the strength piece, they get to really step up and be a big part of it because we break them up into teams. So that they enjoy that piece because those linemen get to, show what they can do too. So that's a part of it.
Yeah, we usually have we'll have a couple of 7-on-7 practices to kind of get ready for our 7-on-7, league or whatever, but we'll have the linemen come in those same nights and they go over on the practice field. And to be honest, the best part of it is the older guys teaching the younger guys the drills that they're going to do when we get to camp and when we get to preseason. We do a camp the last week of the summer before the hands off, but you get your juniors and seniors out there who have been through and they know these, everyday drills and these initial drills that we're going to install, and they're showing those younger guys in those 4 days, kind of how to do those. I always felt like that's been pretty good to us. I got Coach Litt has a question on any tips for getting 90% participation in your summer workouts.
Well, I think it's part of I think what happened was, I think back about 2009, 2010, when I had Paul McDonough and Louis DiTomaso and those guys, what I lucked out with is that whole group of kids were weight room fiends. They wanted to be in the weight room all the time. And it almost like became right now, what it built was from 2011 to now, is that kids think you have to do it, and we've never said you don't. Like I think what kids that are coming up into the program now say, oh, you have to go lift. Like an 8th grader coming up is saying, I have to go lift, mom and dad, because that's part of the program. We never say you have to. There's no, we don't make that a rule. Of course, it's strongly encouraged. So it's kind of built up because we had that group that did it and had that success. We won the state championship that year with that group of kids. Those kids saw the success and they see what they do, and it was a big deal. And I think what happens is, BL, is that by building the culture in the town too. So when we go to the state, amazing thing that our school does, our school really believes in trying to be number one in everything. And we have an administration that, our superintendent's an ex-wrestling coach from Arizona who's won numerous state championships in wrestling, was a college wrestling guy, and also coached some football. He believes in winning. Like, he wants the school to be number one. He wants everything to be number one. So we believe it. And it's buying in right through the youth and the junior high. When we go to the state championship game, the Thursday before the state championship game, we have a parade through all the schools. Like, we parade through the schools to wish us luck. And every kid's in the hallway cheering us on. And so they want to be Warrior football players at the end. Every practice we practice over at the elementary school. When we go to practice, there's a kids out program, because we don't practice till 3. There's a kids out program that's on the hill, in the playground on the hill. And they're all out there cheering on when we come out for practice. We have a group of 50 kids out there every day cheering us on to start practice. So the culture is there. And I think that's what ends up, they learn by looking at us be successful. They learn by seeing the kids in the weight room, and that builds that, people being in the weight room. So that's the best answer I can give you on that. But
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Coach. Those seasons that you are successful and make a pretty good run, those guys kind of set the standard on what it's going to be like. And then, it's always better when it's coming from the other guys on the team to encourage kids to get in the weight room than it is coming from you or I. They're going to buy into that a lot more. Matt Friedman had, what is your best practice for getting youth coaches to buy in?
I think you answered it pretty well, and I'm the same way. Is I try to find some guys that, luckily we've kind of got a little pipeline going right now, because we did it down from the youth, and they kind of just move up with their kids, and they're believing in our system right now. Let me say this, guys, and you guys all know this. When you win, they start to believe in your system. When you lose, they don't believe in your system. I get it, because when we weren't that good, and it still happens now every Friday night. Well, when you went to Levitt, I don't know why you didn't throw the ball 22 times. Everybody was in the box. I'm like, yeah, well, you think that, and we still have that piece to us, but those guys down there believe in what we're doing, and it kind of just came up through. So I try to find guys that maybe believe in what we're doing, and maybe right now I'm lucky because a few of those guys have played for me now that I'm getting old. I got guys playing for me and stuff that now are looking to get into coaching, so they're coaching their kids on their way up. So that's been a lucky piece for Wells in that part.
Yeah, I would echo that, Coach. I know, I kind of follow that same model of, you get some guys who are kind of running your youth program, and a couple guys that you trust a little bit, and you get them onto your high school staff and get them to volunteer, and maybe they can hit a practice or 2 a week and be on the sideline on game night, and they just kind of become part of the culture. And then they're extending that into your youth program. And if those guys are running the youth program, then they're kind of passing it down to the other guys who are helping them. And I think just kind of build that network that way. Obviously, winning, helps a ton. And I faced the same struggle too. When we first went to the spread, I heard from a bunch of dads these kids were going to be, 1,000-yard wing tee fullbacks, or the best, the Tom Rathman, eye blocker, type guy or whatever, and we've got them playing guard, and they're like, oh, my kid's wearing 57, he should be wearing 34, and that sort of thing. But as you win, some of that goes away. But I think the more guys that you can get involved, I know we catch a lot of flack sometimes for having 16 coaches on the sideline, but a lot of those guys have kind of moved right through our program, and I'm in the same boat as you now, where I've got some guys who like Marcus Rennie is the director of our youth football program. He played for me on the O2 team. He's got kids coming up through, and I think that helps too when you start getting guys who have played for you. But I think the biggest thing for buy-in too is you got to get all those guys together in a room and talk to those guys and tell them, like, look, this is what we're trying to do, and you guys can either get on board with this, or we can play this game of everybody's trying to do their own little thing, and it's only going to hurt us in the long run. And I think one thing that has been fortunate for us is our youth directors have been pretty good about weeding some of those guys out of there.
Yeah.
Not letting them be in control very much. So.
The other thing I meant to say when I was talking on my own was that the other thing that's pretty cool that the kids have really bought into is that after not 2011, but the 2014 or so state championship, 15, whatever year it was, the kids came to me and said, "Hey, Coach, I thought this was great. One of the things that kind of says that we're the buy-ins there from our kids. You keep giving out these, like the MVP, as we all do, most improved, the Warrior, this and stuff like that. But you preach team all the time. How is that being a part of team?" They voted as a senior group to do away with all awards, all individual awards. Now we have to do the Fitzy, you have to do those awards, but they will take no individual awards, and we've started that, and now we don't do them anymore. I mean, our AD still sends me a thing every fall, make sure you get me your award. So I'm like, he loves it because he doesn't have to pay for awards now, but they won't take individual awards. I thought that was pretty cool. The kids stepped up and did that. It wasn't my idea. We've done away with all individual awards. I thought that was really cool. And their buy-in is the only award they want is a state championship. And I that's a great goal. And we're not going to get it every year, obviously, because now we play Mike. But, someday we'll get it back. But
I would agree wholeheartedly there, Coach. I think, we still do give out some individual awards at the end of the year, but we have quite a few of them. But I think the most prestigious one that we give out, we named it after Pete Casey, our assistant coach who passed away last year. It's basically the Practice Player of the Year award. And it's always given out to really a guy who's a look team guy. So like this year we had a junior lineman who probably would have started on, a lot of other teams in our conference, certainly. And, he was just, he's that dude that, he's ready to go all the time, but, never really got a shot, but he was great in practice every day, great attitude, helps out the young guys. And, for him to get that award at the end of the year meant a lot to him and his family. And, it certainly, our kids recognize, what he's done for our program. The other thing I thought is cool, it made me think of that, back when I had Eric Peace and Josh Strickland and those guys on that 09 team. Back then we used to do the individual decal stickers on the helmet. You give out like the Buckeye Awards or, whatever. We had, footballs for offense and stone crossbones for defense or whatever it was. And we had kind of told a story in the beginning of the season. I think Dick Vermeil had used it with the Rams about this wheelbarrow story. And basically it's like this guy is going to, go over this tightrope over the crossing this canyon with a wheelbarrow. And, he asked who would bet on him to do it. Nobody really will or whatever. And one guy says, I'll do it. It's like, well, do you really believe I would or I can do it? And he says, if you really believe, you're getting a wheelbarrow. So we had a wheelbarrow that we had that we carted around with us each game. And we would actually, when we would win, we would steal a rock from somewhere on the premises of the school we were playing. Just from somewhere at Levitt, we would put it in the wheelbarrow and the coach would paint the score or whatever. But we were still giving out individual stickers at the time. And then there was one day when we gave out the sticker. I gave it to Eric Peace, who was, all world for us, our quarterback, and, certainly deserved a lot of accolades. And he went and took his sticker and put it in the wheelbarrow. And then everybody after that just took their stickers and put them in the wheelbarrow. And we never wore another individual sticker on our helmet after that. And, that came from him. It didn't really come from me. So that was pretty cool. So
yeah, we used the wheelbarrow one too a couple of times. I like that. That's a great
that's a good one. I'm trying to see if there's any other guys got anything in the chat they want to get answered before we let Coach go here.
Do you want to put them on mic or do you want to just do it on chat?
Yeah, we can do it. Let's open up the mics and we can kind of put everybody on the screen and just kind of chat it up to finish this thing. Let me see if I can do that.
Plus, we can see if they're falling asleep. They probably fell asleep halfway through.
All right. Yeah, there's Coach Soren.
That's all been good stuff. We based a lot of our stuff with Tim. You spoke at the Maine Football Clinic a long time ago, a number of years, and I remember you talking about the Friday stuff that you did. And then when I went to Oxford Hills, I was going to buy a bunch of that stuff and try to get that going. And then I got a strength guy in town that has all that stuff, and so we've ended up doing a lot of that stuff in sort of the general lifting program. That's made a big difference for us.
I mean, believe me, I am so lucky to have one of my best friends be, the commander of the Navy SEALs. I mean, that's a big deal. And his team building stuff is unreal. So that certainly is a big bonus for us, having that. So kind of cool to see him every day too. He's a pretty good guy.
Coach Lipp,
Tim,
you look
I
like
feel
you're
like
getting ready to
we-
rob a
yeah,
bank there or something, man. You got the hat on and the hoodie. You got to unmute, Coach.
I still don't hear him.
Oh, there you go. That's better.
There we go.
An embarrassingly long time, so I didn't want you guys to see my hair. Not looking good, so.
Never do.
My son's next to me being loud, so I had myself on mute.
There you go.
I see Coach Capone too. That's good to see him. And
I can see part of him.
yes, he's got his TV. He only wants us to see his scalp for some reason. I don't know why.
He's like the neighbor on Tool Time. He's just nose and above, right?
You guys go fuck yourself.
There goes the
All
recording.
I know is I got a beer going. All right, do any of you guys? I know I got a tall one going right now. Hey, seriously, guys, great job. This has been a blast. Yeah, I think we're doing some guys doing some great stuff, and it's really exciting. Proud of all you guys. It's pretty cool.
I saw that head sweat pretty good one morning after a coach's clinic. So
You think? More than once, brother. More than once. Oh my God.
Just to let you guys in, from here on out, I'm going to try to do these live, but I think what I'll do is just email the live link through our email chain. So it's only main coaches on the live one, and then I'll post it up later, and then other guys can do that. That way we don't get the Pornhub hack on the Twitter link. I know Coach Roscoe seemed like he was enjoying that. I could not get that thing off fast enough. That's like when your kid accidentally orders something on the TV, right? And you gotta try to get that off from there. That's no good. But yeah, we're gonna try to do these live. I got all sorts of guys lined up over the next couple of weeks. Coach Capone and I are reaching out to a bunch of the college guys. I've already talked to Coach Charlton at Maine, Coach Clark up at Husson. Just hearing back from a lot of guys, a lot of high school guys that are gonna come in and do some stuff too. So I think we're gonna be able to put up like 2 or 3 of these a day for the time being. So it should be pretty cool. We'll have to get Coach Freeman up too, since he's got that good beard going on.
yeah, the kids like the beard. I heard him say that they liked it. Those kids that hacked
They
in.
did. Those guys that hacked in really like that beard.
I think everybody's got the Corona beard going here.
Oh, yeah. If we're not back until August 15th, I'm going to have a pretty full. I'm going to look like my father by the time we get to doubles.
That's another interesting conversation though. Like the weight room and stuff. Hopefully, that's a scary thing. If we're not back.
I know. Well, hopefully everybody gets on the chats on Friday night. We'll do the 8-man one at 6, and we'll do the 11-man one at 7:30, and just kind of toss some ideas around and talk a little bit of that stuff. And we can talk some classification stuff. And I think Dean's in here and Coach Solomon's in here. Coach Collins, in terms of the 8-man stuff, it looks like we're going to get a schedule approved here pretty quick. Is that right, Coach?
Yeah, it looked really good. I think we got 23 out of the 26 already back, positive, liked it, thumbs up, ready to go.
Yeah, and I think it's a good mix of keeping some travel considerations in there, and why would Trait play Washington Academy, or some stuff like that,
Right.
and just finding some things out there.
I got an
Good
email.
stuff.
I don't know if other coaches get it from their ADs. They might want to check with their ADs. I got an email from my AD today from the MPA about our classification, the 11-man. Oh, it was out about both, but it was an email today. It was dated
The
today
football committee.
from the football. It showed the classification and they extended the date to April 10th to apply down or up or whatever you're going to do. But it was a whole email on it that maybe my AD just forwarded to me today. He's usually pretty good about that though. So it's the first time I've seen it come from the MPA, like an actual explanation of the whole thing.
Right.
My AD's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. So just be on the lookout for it. It does allow you to apply down or up or whatever you got to do, but it's there.
Yeah.
I think when I talked to Joel the other day, he said, and I talked to Dan O'Connell too, he said they were extending the deadline to April 10, and then on April 13, because my assistant principal's on that committee too, on April 13, they're going to meet and review the applications and then go from there.
Yeah, I think they're waiting for the vote, right, to approve their changes.
I think so. I think it's got to, I don't know if it actually votes, but it's got to at least go in front of classification and management to.
Yeah, Greg Sickles said classification saw it and had no issues with it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it has to go in front of the whole general assembly.
It will eventually. The management committee has to look at it too. They're kind of the last step before it goes to the whole, the whole deal. And then everybody will have to vote on it in April. But usually whatever management passes, they seem to vote through. So.
Hopefully you guys get it so you can get a schedule going. Although you seem to be able to throw one together in 7 minutes, half.
Well, now with all this time, man, it can happen even quicker. When you emailed me the other day, I was like, I could sit down and crank this out right now.
I think noon I asked you for home and aways, and 12:15 I had it. So
no, it's
pretty impressive.
Get some good templates set up so I can just kind of motor that stuff through there. So, I don't know. I would imagine that it's probably going to be something like I'm going to stop recording this just for the official record, but I would imagine